What are we teaching this class on?
Listing.
Listing presentations.
Gotcha. All right, so who has gone on a listing presentation recently? All right, who am I going to pick on?
Sorry, Frank, I can't talk now. But I'm gonna send you the certificate of elevation so you can get the info.
Keisha, I can pick on you. Okay. All right. So,
Is this
Tell me
a
about-
listing presentation on your laptop?
no,
Oh, that's what I thought it was.
no. This is, well, you can get up and go, it's fine.
I know, I probably will, because I've done thousands of listing presentations.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, do you guys ever have classes for the listing presentations on the laptop? Or no?
Well, it depends on what you mean on the laptop.
You know, just having all the information on your,
Well, I can put it on a
Computer.
laptop and I can turn it on and show it to them,
okay, so,
you know what I mean?
where do you draw that from on your?
You want to
Toolkit?
actually, you should
Toolkit
actually go,
CMA?
Toolkit CMA?
Correct.
Do you have that? Okay.
Yeah, I have examples of it here, I'm going to pass out in a little while.
Oh, okay.
So, all right, so tell me about your listing presentation.
Okay, so it was an expired,
Mm-hmm.
and it was somebody that I called couple months ago, and then I called him again, and so first I told him that, okay, well, I'll just send him something, and got off the phone, then Ifra made me call him back, so I called him back, got the presentation, and we got the appointment, was completely unprepared because I didn't pre-qualify. I kind of pre-qualified because we talked so long, so some of the things I picked up, but I didn't call back and pre-qualify. I just went for the appointment. But I did write down the questions that the points that I needed to get to.
Okay,
Never even opened up the book that I had because it was so natural, it was more like a conversation.
okay,
So I got into my presentation with them and told them, because they asked me one question that brought us into the presentation. They asked me about how much I charge.
okay,
So I told them 6%. They asked me, well, would I change it? I said no, and this is why. And I explained to them all the reasons why and got into it.
okay.
Didn't get the listing
Didn't get the listing?
because
Okay,
they want their son to buy the house.
all right,
So the son is what's holding him up. He really loves his son. He wanted to give it to his son for a lesser price, blah, blah, blah. Went back, talked to the son, still with the intention of getting the listing because I didn't think the son was going to do anything. Still didn't get the listing, but I
okay.
got the son pre-qualified and now he's buying his parents' house and I'm going to get a referral.
There you go.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's good.
All right, so turn around and tell everybody that word. What was that word that starts with a P?
Pre-qualified?
Pre-qualify.
Yes.
So has everybody heard that word before? Okay, why do we pre-qualify?
So we don't waste our time.
So they have bullets in their gun?
Exactly. So you know if they're gonna kill you when they walk in the door, right?
Right.
Exactly.
Dog.
So so the people who have gone and raised their hands and gone on a listing appointment and recently, have you all pre-qualified? Yes? No? Beth, tell me about that. I knew I was gonna get one. Tell me about that.
I had, it was Fisbo.
Mm-hmm.
I went, I actually drove by it, so he had a number on the sign, I called from that. He had the property listed on Zillow, I
Okay.
guess as a for sale by owner. I wasn't even aware of that, I should have looked up that myself. I just checked it in the MLS, saw it wasn't there, and made the call. It was totally overpriced.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't prepared enough. I think I could have gotten a lot of those questions out of the way and had my talking points ready, and I didn't. So I left there not getting the listing and not feeling like I had the answers,
Okay.
but I didn't have them ready. I screwed up. So if I'd have pre-qualified him with the information I needed to walk in with, I think I might have walked out with the listing.
Okay. All right. So at least you know you should have done it.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a little confused. Pre-qualifying someone to list? How? Explain.
Okay. Well, we're gonna go over that.
Okay. Because I'm over here thinking, yeah, I'm pre-qualified, on my buyers, but I'm like, wait a second. Okay, all right.
So you're not getting a mortgage. You're
Okay.
pre-qualifying the appointment. Okay? And it's a series of questions that you ask.
Okay.
And you ask these series of questions for a couple reasons. You're determining if you're going to go on the appointment, not the other way around. But you need information. So when you go to a doctor, okay, and the doctor, you sit up there and the doctor says, All right, what you got? And you say, I got a sore throat. And he goes, surgery, you got throat cancer, you're done. You know, let's go get you immediately out there. You need more information. He needs more information. He needs to know exactly what's going on with you. He needs to pre-qualify you before he can help you. Okay? So there's a series of questions that need to go along with this. And this is one of the most important. You pass that back? All right, you know what? Okay, I'll give you half of these. This is probably the most important part of listing, is this part right here. This determines if I am going to go on the listing appointment at all. All right, so you know what? Hand me one of those. I give them all out. I want to highlight a couple things. Let's just go ahead and everybody got one?
Yeah, I'm gonna make some more. Oh, you got?
No, we have plenty. We got plenty.
You
There's a
got
couple
plenty
more
of it?
back here.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. So after you get the appointment, somebody says, "Yep, I will meet you at Thursday at 1 o'clock." So when do you pre-qualify? When should you pre-qualify? Right then and there, if you can. What do you say? No, don't read it. You say something before this. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, in order to properly prepare for our appointment, I have a few questions to ask you. Do you have a few minutes for me? Okay? So that's respecting their time. In order to properly prepare, you make them feel important. I have a few questions to ask you. Do you have a few minutes? If they say no, I'm in a rush, you do not want to rush this. Because it also tells me if I'm going to be calling them back. If they say no, you know what, I don't have time right this second. All right, great. When can I call you where you have a few minutes to talk? And that's when you want to do this. All right, so basically, you call them back. And he even says up there, before I come, there are a number of questions I need to ask you. I like to say properly prepare. First question on there. If what I say makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident I can get your home sold, are you preparing to list with me when I come out on Thursday at 1 o'clock? You can say it however you like. It doesn't really matter how you say it. If what I say makes sense and you feel comfortable and confident that I can get your home sold, can we start when I come out at 1 o'clock? Can we list your home? Can we get it on the market? I don't really care what you use after that. Doesn't really matter. Can we start? 50% of the time they're going to say, yes, I'm ready to go. The other 50% of the time they're going to say, you have a guess?
Not ready.
I want to see what you have to say. Okay, great. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. Next question. Are you planning to interview more than one agent for the job of selling your home? Now, why would you think that would be important?
Because you need to know,
Hmm?
so you can know.
Great. Yeah, you need
have
to know, right?
competition. Yeah, you need to know.
And if they say yes, and this is why I wanted to go over this line by line. If they say yes, I said, okay, great, great. When are you meeting the other agents? Because at that point, if they say I'm meeting at Thursday at 3, I got somebody after me now. So the chances of me getting that listing when I go there at 1 o'clock has just cut in half. I can be the best guy in the world. I got 50% chance of less of getting it now. I'm going to meet Thursday at 3 o'clock. All right, and do you mind if I ask who that is? Sometimes they'll give it to you, sometimes they won't. If they won't give it to me, ask them. So let me ask you a question, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Would it be beneficial to you if I did a report card on everybody you're going to meet so you know exactly what they've done, where they've sold, how they've sold, their time and everything else? I have yet to ever had anybody say no. Yeah, that'd be great. Give me your report card. Great. Who are you meeting with? And then I get a list. And once I get the list, I can knock most of them off. Okay? So if they say, I'm meeting somebody at Thursday at 3 or Friday at 2 or whatever, you know what, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I just realized I have a closing that day. Do you have some time at Friday at 5? Monday? You want to be the last one in if you can. Because they've already met with everybody else. But they're probably not going to sign with those other people until they meet with everybody they scheduled. Very rarely have I ever had anybody cancel on me, although Howard just did it to me the other day. Usually it doesn't happen that way. Usually the last one, if I'm the last one in the door, I have a very, very, very good chance of getting the appointment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay? Does everybody know how to pull stats on agents in Paragon?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I guess
Kathy.
you just put their name in and see what comes up.
Hmm?
You just put their name in.
Inventory.
You gotta do it two ways. You gotta put in the selling agent, and then you gotta put in the listing agent. But the more important one is the listing agent. So if they sold a lot of houses, let's say they sold 15 houses, but 14 of them were buyers, you could say, well, you know, Barb Smith is the buyer's agent. You don't want a buyer's agent representing to sell your house, right? So you can kind of get rid of that one.
Now, is that ethical?
Hmm?
Is that ethical?
I don't care.
Oh.
Tell you the truth. All right, third question.
Where did you look that up at? There-
You can look at Paragon. If you
Their
go into
inventory?
selling agent, and then you can go into agent part where it says agent and listing office, listing agent, listing office. If you just type in their name, put sold, put the date,
Okay.
go back a year, 1 calendar year,
Membership, you're looking under membership, you mean?
you look, no, not a membership.
Do you want me to
What
bring
do
up
you look
Paragon so you can show them?
I have
If-
Paragon.
If you want, that's, you guys wanna know that? You guys wanna see that?
I know where it is.
All right, while we're waiting for that.
Yeah, you keep talking. Just-
All right, so, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you said you were moving to Arizona. You know, what's in Arizona? I'm moving to closer to my family. Great. Have you already started looking there? Now, why would I want to know that question?
Time frame.
Motivation. You wanna see?
Motivation, time frame, what else?
You could also refer them.
Ah, here we go.
Referral.
So there's three things I'm getting out of this. I'm getting the time frame, I'm getting the motivation of when they want to go, and I'm also getting possible referral, because we have a referral network. And what's the next question? How soon do you need to be there, which is a form of
Motivation.
motivation. Okay, so if they say, I want to be there, I have to be there by the summertime. Okay, do you have to be there by the summertime, or you want to be sold by the summertime? So when, clarify, give me some more clarification, because you want as much information as possible. When I see you, how much do you want to list your home for? You think they answer that all the time?
They always have an idea.
I want to see what you have to say.
Yeah.
Okay, so they were listed at 225. So, okay, so I say, Mr. Seller, I assume that you would probably want to get somewhere near what you had listed for before, correct? Is that correct? You will be absolutely surprised at that answer. Some say, I know it's priced too high. They'll come right out and say it. Some say, well, yeah, that's right, I want to get somewhere near there. Okay, great. So let me ask you a question, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. If we get into a heated battle, you know, lots of offers. You want to say lots of offers. You see lots of offers, they're thinking lots of, well, I'm going to get lots
Yeah,
of offers with this guy. Perception,
I'm
lots of
going with this
offers.
guy.
We get lots of offers. You know, what price will you absolutely just not go below? And they will most likely always give you, well, you know what, I'm not going to go below 210. Price reduction right there.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Which brings my next question. Well, if we sell it at 210, you know, is that going to be a problem? Do you owe a mortgage? Well, you have a mortgage. Okay, do you mind if I ask what that is? And I'll tell you. I think 8 out of 10 people will tell you. And if they don't, I always ask a question of, well, is it close to what we'd be listing it for? Or is it not close? Well, it's not close. Okay, at that point, I really don't care, because I need to know why. Why do I need to know what their mortgage is?
It was a short sale.
Short sale. Boom. I got burned on that one.
Ooh.
2010, my first one. Got burned on that question. Showed up and the guy goes, yeah, I forget what it was. It was 200.
I'm so
I owe
glad to see
250.
you. I'm so glad to see you.
Yeah, I owe 250. Great. Wonderful. Let's have another conversation. Have you ever thought about selling yourself? Now, why would that be important?
If they wanna do a sale by owner.
Hmm?
If they thought about it, you wanna know.
Okay.
You can also give more benefits as to what you're gonna do. Like, I guess it gives you more reason to kind of
And
brag.
they're thinking about commissions, but then on the other hand, the FISBOs don't get their price, historically. I mean, you know that.
Well, it's not really what I'm going for.
The
The reason I ask that is, are they listed as a for sale by owner now?
On Zillow,
Anywhere.
anyway.
Again, experience. I showed up to a house. I was all ready to go. I didn't ask that question. There's a for sale sign in the yard and it's theirs. And the question I asked them when the first thing I walked in the door, so you're selling it yourself? Oh yeah, we're gonna give it a month. Great. I tried, I didn't get the listing. That's a very important question to ask. Will you help finance the home for the buyer, or do you want to cash out? I ask this question because people will surprise you. I have, especially when it comes to investors, second homes, estates, stuff, they will do that. They will finance, they will do seller finance, and I have one right now. I asked this question, they said, yeah, I'll do seller financing. Okay, great, what are the terms? So this will help you sell the property. Because right now I'm in negotiations to get that done, because I do have somebody who wants to seller finance. So it's a very important question to ask.
Do you ever run into somebody that'll do full take back of the whole,
Full take back?
yeah, of the whole mortgage?
I've never
I mean,
run
after a
into-
down payment.
I've never run into that myself, no.
Okay.
Do you have them contact, you do a lawyer to do that, taking back that mortgage? What do you,
I would recommend them doing a lawyer. I'm not writing contracts for that.
yeah,
No way. You just tell them to recommend a lawyer. If they don't know anybody, go look up somebody.
you prepare the contract for the sale,
Correct.
and in the interim, you'll have a lawyer get involved.
Correct.
Rich, this is up and running for you.
Okay.
You can use some.
All right, who wants to be my guinea pig? Who am I checking on?
You can check me.
All right, there we go. Kathy.
Oh,
Kathy's a guinea pig. All right, so let's go to search multi-class. You want to go to, who's a, who's my default?
You can log out online, you don't have to lose it.
Agent's right at the bottom there.
Yeah, no, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for the custom, there's normally right here is a customized bar where you can add certain other criteria, but I don't see that here.
See the little round
Search
thing?
multi-class?
Go over two. One more.
Oh. Oh, it's different, mine's different than this, okay. All right, you gotta add, most of these you have to add this, you have to add selling agent one, right there. Apply, all right. So, we're gonna do sold. You're gonna do, I'm just gonna go back one solid year. All right. So as a buyer's agent, Kathy had sold 7 properties in the past year. 1 calendar year. You only go back 1 calendar year. All right? And as a listing agent, she has sold 34 in the past year. Woo! Good Kathy. All right, so everybody saw how I did that?
Mm-hmm.
Selling agent, closing, oh, wait a minute, let me have my closing deal in there, sorry, hold on. Kathy, you're not that good, sorry.
It's okay.
Choose and chalk too, yeah. That's great.
Let me get rid of secondary. All right. Kathy, you sold more than 1 property. last year.
Yeah, so I went from 34 to 1, huh?
She sold 11 listings last year. Okay, because here's what I hit, if you look at what I had in here, this is how many, she actually double-ended one of them. Is that correct?
Probably.
Okay. So when I have them both in here, as she's the selling agent and the listing agent, she had 1
Oh, I
sale
see what
this
you
year.
did, okay.
So that's how many she double-ended. So she has 11 sold listings and then 7 sold buyers. That make sense? Everybody see how I did that?
Where's the 7 at? I'm missing something.
The what?
Where are you seeing the
Well,
numbers?
that was under selling. as opposed
Selling
to
agent
Alright.
is the buyer's agent. As a buyer's agent, she sold 7, as a listing agent, she sold 11.
Where are you picking up? Oh, okay, up on top, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah, I couldn't figure out where you're seeing that. Thank you.
And then I use this to my advantage. Whenever I know I'm going up against competition, I use this to my advantage. So if I'm selling properties in some place that Kathy hasn't sold properties, what am I gonna pick on? She's selling properties here, how does she know this area?
Yeah.
You gonna hire somebody that hasn't sold any properties here? That doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Anyway, that's how you do it.
Cool, thank you. I'll shove all in.
Okay. Okay, where was I? Okay, so I don't send over, I used to send over a package of information. I do not do that anymore. Okay? I used to email stuff like that, mail it, back before we had 2010, 2011, I used to mail out packages. I don't mail them out. I just don't see a need to. I never got anything from it, so I just don't do it. Maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't, I don't know.
So a pre-listing package, you're not sending a, you're
Correct.
not doing?
I send exactly what I bring with me, including the paperwork. I used to send the paperwork too.
But you do send it ahead of time.
I do not.
You don't.
Nope.
You just bring your whole package.
I just bring it with me. I'm not a firm believer in it. I was taught to do it, but I'm not a firm believer in it because I've actually lost listings this way. Where I put a recommended price or something on there, and the first thing they say, well, I can't sell at that price, I'm gonna cancel the listing. So, I just don't even, if I answer these questions correctly, I know what I'm walking into all the time. Okay? Do you have any questions before I ride? I changed this around. What questions do you want to go over when we meet? Because I do not want to be handling objections on the phone before I even get to the property. That make sense? Now, there's another part to this question. And you guys probably know this already. Depending on how they answer, does everybody know what that is?
Yes.
Okay, everybody know personality types?
Yep.
This is where you determine what kind of personality they are. What questions you want to go over when we meet. So what do you think some of the answers I get?
Commission.
No, they're just gonna say,
I don't wanna
if he
go
says,
over
get right to it,
Huh?
I don't wanna go through all that, get right to it,
Give me the
Okay.
price, how much?
How fast are you going to sell my house?
right.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do differently? How have you ever sold any properties in my area? Commission? Do you sell my kind of homes? My house is beautiful. Are you used to selling homes like mine? All this kind of stuff. And at this point, I'll write all these down. Great, 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 great. And then I'll ask them, what kind of agent are you looking for? Okay, so a driver. What would a driver say?
Sell my house.
Sell my house. That's it. Get it done. What would an I say? By the way, does everybody know what these are?
I do
Yeah.
not know what they are.
Okay. D stands for dominant. I stands for inspiring, supportive, cautious. D is dominant, inspiring. So this person here, this is your driver, also called a driver. This is going to be your, just get it done. Don't give me the details, I just want it done.
Details, yeah.
Your I is a people person. And they're going to, when you show up at the house, they're going to show you everything they've ever done to the house and every memory that they've ever had in the house. You got to keep these people focused. So I have no patience for these people. S. S is a
Steady.
steady, stable, but they're people. You know, they like to talk to people. C, they're usually standoffish. They're cautious. They are, these are the ones that like the charts and graphs.
What's the I again?
I is inspiring,
Or influencer.
influencer. There's many different names for all these.
And S is steady and C is cautious?
Yes, correct. So these two people, this one's going to talk a lot. This one wants to get right to the point. This one is going to talk to you, but you're still gonna be very kind of, I'm not sure. And this one's gonna be, you better show me everything, including your entire history, how many kids you have, what your wife's name is, and stuff like that, before I make a decision. So when I ask the question, what kind of agent are you looking for? What are you looking for in an agent, however you want to ask it. When they say sell my house, I know I'm dealing with a driver. What do you think I would say?
Let me show you the
Let me show you.
pictures of my children in the hot air balloon.
It could be something like that. Well, I'm looking for somebody who knows how to sell my house because I have the most beautiful pool in the backyard and I just opened it up and on and on and on. Usually you have to show them after a while. What's an essay? S and C sometimes can be the same. I want to see what you've sold. I want to see how many you've sold. I want to see what you sold in my area. I want to see charts. I want to see graphs. I want to see, you better bring every piece of paper you've ever had. All right? So now I know who I'm talking to. Because when I show up, that's who I'm going to be talking to. That's who I'm going to basically make myself that person. So this is very important. This is extremely important. Okay? Now, go ahead.
So like if you don't have, like say it's like somebody's like, I wanna see what you've done, like, you know, hey, kinda haven't done too much, do I use the office statistics?
Yep.
Okay. That's the-
Don't you think in that case, Rich, for new people coming, that what was published in the paper, if we can get a reprint of that, I think.
Publish in paper. Paper, what paper?
The press, just after the first of the year,
He's talking about the
Dan.
award and KW one.
yeah, Dan had all the charts and everything.
Can we, let's push that out for a minute,
Okay,
okay? Let's table that question for a second. Okay.
it's table.
All right, tables, exactly. All right, so I now have a full idea of what this person wants. I know what they want. I know exactly what's going to happen. I know how I need to act. I know what I need to bring. Right? Oh, you want one? No, okay. 50% of my listing appointment's done. It's done right here. I just did 50% of my listing appointment. And they don't even know it. I didn't even showed up yet. Because I know what they're looking for. And I know how to transform myself for what they're looking for. I have the questions, I have the objections, I know how to present. I am not a scripted person. I don't have a magic, okay, I'm going to show you this great presentation and you're just going to sign. That's not the real world. That is not the real world. Because if I go in as a driver and they're a C, that person's they're going to crawl into the table. If I go in as a C and they're a driver, they're going to throw me out in 5 minutes. So I need to know. I need to know this. I know if somebody walked in with all charts and graphs, I'm a driver. Somebody walked in with charts and graphs, I throw them out in 5 minutes. Get to the point, you got about 2 minutes,
I'll
I'm
call you.
out.
I'll call you.
I'll call you. Exactly.
Don't call me, I'll call you.
All right, so now you got your information, right?
Right.
What do you bring? What do you bring with you?
CIS.
I printed 5 of these.
I'll take one.
They're like long, so I wasn't gonna, kill the copier. So why don't you just, take one. You don't need to see it, you know what it is. I'll pass 2 on this side. Why don't you guys just pass them down? Can you pass that one back to you? And you guys can look at this one?
Let me just look at it.
All right, so what do you bring? This is just what I use. I'm not saying you have to do this exactly. Okay? I'm going to give you a couple ideas if you want to minimize it. What do you think you should bring?
Listing agreement.
There you go.
Positive.
I was going to say that last, but yeah, that's good. That's good. All right, you want, no, I'm sorry?
Comparables.
Comparables. Let me write these down.
Do you fill in the listing agreement?
I
I do.
Yeah. That's
I leave a
copy.
couple things blank. I leave the listing, price, I leave the time, and the stupid questions, the underground oil tank, everything else is filled in. All right, so what'd you say? You said listing agreement, right? Comparables, obviously. What else?
Lead paint, maybe?
No, that's part of the paperwork. I'm looking for something other than that. How about a bio of yourself? Even though I've never gone over it, they could read it. Something like that. Just a little bio. Okay? I've been in real estate, blah, 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 blah. I'm a people person, whatever. What else? Anybody else? Really?
Company stats.
What do you guys bring now?
Company stats. Our company stats.
No.
I would think you would bring
Bring
a
my
recent
marketing.
sales, a recent,
I bring a sign.
Dual agency? Dual agency?
That's all paperwork. That's all part of the listing agreement. All the necessary stuff for them besides, all part of it.
Marketing. Marketing.
A little bit further in detail.
Like, what do you do?
Value add proposition. What is your value today? Why hire you? I call it a value add. Mine is printed on here.
Yeah, you can look at it.
It says Keller Williams, all inclusive, so forth and so on. Right there. That gives them an idea of what I'm going to do. Now let's go back to the DISC for a second. On the C, they're going to want to see the value add. They're going to want you to go over it. You're going to have to go over it line by line. On the S, they most likely will do it. On the I could not get through half of it because they talk halfway through it. And the D, I don't give a crap as long as you sell my house. All right? The bio. I've never gone over it except for once. I've gone over it one time. I have to say it. I do remember. I've gone over one time. It was like an SC kind of guy. Well, who's on your team? What are you going to, what kind of experience have you had? So forth and so on. What else? What else we added? Anything? Nobody? How about just some valuable information? What sells houses? I think I have a whole bunch in here.
Pricing above the curve.
Traps to avoid selling your home. I got a whole, active market, passive marketing, stuff like. I don't go over any of this stuff, but it's in there if you get to the point where you need it. Sometimes you will need it with these type people. You will not need it with these type people. So if you need it, it's there. If I have to leave this or something, just some valuable information for you to go over when you have time. So forth and so on. What is not in here? Has everybody really looked at this yet? What is not in here? Nothing. Nothing about KW. Nothing about how many awards I've won. About how many houses we've sold. How many agents we have worldwide. How the biggest person in the world, #1 Atlantic County. They don't give a crap. They don't care. They don't care at all.
They just want to know what you're going to do for them.
It's all about them. Agents go in there and they bombard. They sit there and go, "Well, we're the best, and this is why we're the best. And look at all the awards we've won." And and their eyes are glazing over. As soon as you do that, they're tuning you out. Now they just think you got an ego.
So you're doing brand recognition based on yourself rather than KW. So if a person walks in a car dealer and there's Buicks on one side, Subarus on the other, there's no brand identification with KW necessarily. It's more what you're going to do for them specifically in this one deal. Don't worry about what KW is doing
Correct.
county-wide. I don't care.
Who's calling expireds? Every KW agent in America. Who cares what KW does? Most likely, they're meeting 4 KW agents.
But you
Does it
need-
matter what KW does at this point then?
But you need to talk also to the client, like the agent that doesn't have the stats behind them and doesn't have a lot to talk about themselves yet. They kind of have to use what Keller Williams is about or our stats with Keller Williams. They have to include that in order to be relevant.
Only if they ask.
Only if they ask.
Okay.
I'm gonna be honest with you, in the 10 years I've been going on listing appointments, I've had one person ask me, one person, how many awards have you won? One.
No, I'm not talking about that part of it. I'm just talking about that we're like the number, as an agency, we sell the most houses in Atlantic County. Don't you want to list with that agency? Like, things like that.
They don't care.
Well, when you first
Like,
started,
what would
what
I
were your
say?
listing presentations?
Yeah, what, in her.
If it goes to, again, that's gonna come out in here. How many properties you sold in the area? What questions you wanna go over when we meet? If that is a relevant question, I bring up the
Prepare
answer.
yourself.
I've had people say that. What are you gonna do to sell houses? How many have you sold in my area? I've never had to go over that,
What
ever.
if an agent's never sold a house in their life? What do they say to the, I'm just, cause I'm guessing there's new agents in here.
I remember one time at a meeting before when and they said, we could say something like, well, we have, meaning our office, so it's not a personal thing, it's the office itself. We had sold over a certain,
Yeah,
you
that's a
know,
good thing.
You, again, only if you need to.
yeah.
I only go in this if I need to.
Right.
I want to stress the fact that I'm 50% done with this. I really want to stress this, and this comes with practice, this is not going to come overnight. I've been doing this a long time. But when I say that, when I tailor this to them, I don't really get these questions, I don't get these objections. Because I answer them while I'm going over all this stuff. And when it comes time to say, you're ready to get started, I get very little resistance to this.
In other words, you're saying somebody just starting, using this as a formula, as a base, can seem much more refined and seasoned than they really are.
When you're prepared,
When you prepare.
when you're prepared, you will probably quadruple the chances of you getting the listing over a seasoned agent who's just going on another listing plan. And that's why I'm not scripted. Because I've tried to go through them like very, okay, you know, it's just, I end up losing all the listings. So I really started paying attention to this and asking all the questions I need to ask.
Right.
And I take that information, and this is my listing presentation. This becomes your listing presentation.
So do you find that when you're speaking with them and you're asking them questions about them, that they become so focused on them that they don't even care about you
Correct.
per se? And what you've done and what you've sold and, okay.
And you come across as somebody who's helping them, not somebody who's, has it on a
Trying to sell
listing,
yourself.
it's called commission breath. As soon as they can smell the commission breath, you're out. You're out. So you gotta come from a point of contribution. You cannot come to a point of, I'm trying to get another listing. And I'll tell them that, sometimes on the phone, before I even go out. You know, they start resisting me. Well, what are you gonna do differently? Maybe nothing, I don't know. And Mr. Seller, I don't need another listing. If I don't think I can get what you're trying to do, I'm not interested in wasting your time or mine with it. So all I'm asking for is to give you 15 minutes. So if you're honest with them, and I always start out with that, and I'm gonna go into that a little further once we get into the listing appointment. But if you're honest with them up front, I'm telling you, you just take all the resistance away from them. And you tell them that. You don't want me to lie to you, do you? You want me to lie to you? You want me to tell you what you want to hear? Or do you want me to tell you the truth? Which one do you want?
Exactly.
And then they say the truth, and then I can just be brutally honest about all of it.
Exactly.
And it doesn't matter. And you know what? I'm serious. I have sat in listing appointments where they say, thank you for telling me the truth.
Truth, yeah.
Because a lot of people lie to them. They just lie.
Yeah, they just want the deal.
They just want the
You
deal.
gotta tell them when their house isn't.
When do you-
when
You've
their
got
house
that
is
package
in.
together. When do you give it to them? You're just gonna give it to them for their purpose, for them to read at their convenience?
Do you go through it?
I'm
Like,
bringing this with me. So, okay, so let's go into that. Now I go to the listing appointment, right? I show up at Mr. and Mrs. Seller's house. So I walk in the door, I meet the sellers and everything else. Would you like me to walk around and look at the house, or you want to show me? And I asked them for a couple of reasons. You're supposed to say, let me go look around the house so I can see it in the eyes of the buyer, blah, 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 blah. No, I don't want to do that. I want to go around the house, so when I see something is, where did that leak come from?
Exactly.
Whoa, wow, that's a really, really old rug, isn't it? And I'll say stuff like this, yeah, okay. I'm going through the house with them, okay? So when I get done and we sit down at the table, now again, I'm in control. I'm the one that's making moves. Can we sit down over here and talk for a few minutes? Great. All right, so after we've looked around the house, so Mr. and Mrs. Seller, there's a couple of things that I saw that were really, really nice in your house. You keep it great, it's everything else. I said, but you would agree with me, it's a little dated, right? You say it in a very nice way. Well, yeah, it is a little dated, okay. So you can see how that could maybe affect, getting our sales. So this might be our challenges. The bedrooms are a little smaller size. Well, that's what we hate about this house. Okay, well, guess what? They feel the same way you do. Makes it pretty easy.
That's why we're moving.
That's why we're moving, exactly. The bedroom's a little small. So you point out some of those things. These are the great things. These are some of the challenges we could have. From then on in, it's all about what they told me. Okay, Mr. Seller, you just wanted to know exactly what I'm going to do to get it sold, right? Great. This is what we need to list it at. This is what we need to list it at. You know it, I know it. Can we get it done? I mean, I have done it that way, and I have sit there and signed listing. That's it. It's all done. All right, this person here. This is the one that could get a little. All right, so I usually get stuck with the challenges and the good things about their house because we have to elaborate on the good things and we have to discuss the challenges. So once we get past all that stuff, okay, is there anything else you need to see besides the comparables of what your house is, what your house is going to sell for, what I think it'll sell for? No. Okay, great. Let's get started. S and the C, they need to see details. So I know I need to go into the comparables. I know I need to go through each one. I know I need to go through the bedrooms and baths and blah, 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 blah. And I'll ask them that up front too because I don't want to waste time. I'll ask them, do you need to see all these properties? Some will just say yes. Most will say yes. Some will say no, I'm fine. I understand where you're coming from. Okay? So I go through the comparables. If and when I have to. I go through the comparables and then I ask them, looking at this information, what price do you feel we should put on your house to get it sold? Let them answer you. Don't say another word. Sometimes they'll pick it up and they'll sit there and look at it and they'll look at it. And they'll look at you and they'll look at it again. They'll make notes and they'll and then all right, I think about $250,000. Now, obviously depending on what it is and what I'm going for. But let them come up with their own conclusion first before you battle. A lot of I've been on listing appointments with other agents and they'll come out and say, well, I think we should list it for $225,000. and they're like, where'd you come up with that? And now you have to explain yourself. Now you're backtracking. Let them tell you. And then you can address it if you need to. I have come in sometimes and I ask that question, I show them all this information and stuff like that, or when I need to. And I'll say, well, I want to list it for $225. And I'll say, what price do you think we should put on? Well, $215. Okay. You ready? Let's do it. Let's sign it up. So again, this is tailored to what I already know about them. Okay? I do not have a magic listing presentation. It is all about them. I don't bring up myself. I keep it on the house, I keep it on them, what they're trying to accomplish, what their goals are, and I ask for the sale. And it's not anything complicated, because most of my information is done up front. Most of my listing presentation is done already here. And you can have conversations with them. what makes sense? You feel comfortable, confident, I can come out and, get your house sold. Are you willing to start on blah, 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 blah? They might say, well, maybe. Okay, so maybe you want to get started, or maybe you're thinking about this, and they might just tell you the whole thing. Well, if you say this, and if I get it for this, and blah, 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 and they tell you a whole story. Okay, well, if I can get 225, so what you're saying, Mr. Sellers, if I can get you 225, you'd be willing to go, right? Yeah, okay, great. So what's my goal? 225. I already know it. So now I know what I'm going in with. So if you do this, I'm telling you, your listing presentations will be very easy. I don't call them presentations. I call them listing appointments because I'm taking the listing. I already did the presentation. They didn't even know it. They didn't even know it. Ask me how many listing appointments I went last year.
How many listing appointments did you go on last year?
63. Ask me how many it took.
How many,
How many?
how many did you get?
59. Okay, 94%. Ask me how many I turned away.
How many did you turn
I
away?
don't know that answer. That's a stupid question. I have canceled appointments. When I go through this and I start doing the research to go in the appointments, I have called them back. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I think we might have a problem. Do you have another minute? Talk with them. Again, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I'm really sorry to call you one more time. I never supposed to meet them, blah, 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 blah. I started to do some research, and there's a couple things I need to discuss with you. Do you have a minute, great? I really want to tell you the truth. I don't think I can get what you're looking for. I don't think I can get you 225. Looking at the comparables and this and that and the other thing, and whatever the case may be. Sometimes they'll say, well, you know what, my house is worth that, and it's my discretion whether I want to cancel or not. Again, when I go through this, I'm interviewing them of whether I want to go in a listing appointment. And when I go in the listing appointment, I'm planning on taking it. So instead of going on a bunch of listing appointments and wasting my time, I just don't go. I don't want to waste my time. Okay? And if you do this right and you set this up right and you take the listings that you know you're going to sell, you won't have a lot that expires either. I have about a 7-8% expiration rate. That's it. I sell 93% of them. So you do this right,
Yeah,
and
'cause
you
you
will
want
get
the right
listings.
price on the house. Because you want the right price on the house, you don't want to just sit there.
Correct.
It's a waste of time.
It's a liability.
Yeah.
Do you ratchet down when need is, in other words, you say, well, let's give it a go at 225. And then you get in there, 6 weeks go by, not happening. Do you then go back in and say, we really got to?
Okay, so everything's a process.
Okay.
Everything from the day I talk with this person initially to the day their house is sold, there's a process in between each one of them. So at the listing presentation, I got all the paperwork assigned, we're ready to go, I'm ready to go take pictures, whatever it is. I'll say to them, okay, Mr. Seller, there is 3 things that are going to happen. Number 1, I'm going to put it in the MLS. We're going to throw the marketing around it. It's going to sell right away. We know we hit the nail on the head. Number 2, we get a ton of showings. No offers. We're about 5 to 7% off on the price. Number 3, we don't get anybody through, or maybe a couple stragglers and no offers. We're about 10 to 15% off on the price. One of those things is going to happen. One of the things you're paying me to do is to keep you informed of what's going on. So if we don't get anything, or we get one of these second 2 things that happen in the next month, I'm going to be calling you. We're going to have to discuss a possible price adjustment. Does that make sense, Mr. Seller? Yes. So when you call back. You remember that conversation we had when I was sitting down at your table?
Yep.
And I said, one of these things is going to happen? Well, number 2 happens. So we need to make a price adjustment. I would recommend making a price adjustment to blah. Make sense? So you're automatically, when I first call somebody, I'm setting up for the next section. I mean, this section is setting up for the listing presentation. Listing presentation is setting up for the listing management part. Listing management is setting up for the closing part. Okay? This is all a process. If you follow the process, you will succeed. Does that make sense? Any questions?
So you don't want to hit them with anything cold.
As far as?
In other words, you already have them prepped that there may be have to be a price reduction based on the 3 scenarios.
I take a price reduction form with me. I'll have to sign a blank one most of the time. And I'll file it. If they're fighting me on it, and I recommend 200, and they want 225, and they're really fight me, okay. You know what, I'll take your 225. Okay, you know my recommendation, Mr. Seller. I'll take your 225, but will you promise and sign this price reduction form for, whatever, 30 days from now, if we don't get an offer? Yeah, okay. And literally, sometimes I'll just email them and say, I'm lowering the price, thanks, then sell. Again, your discretion. It's your discretion what you want to do there. I have gotten up from the table. When you're willing to get up and lose and walk away, everything changes. I have literally set up and said, you know what, Mr. Seller, I am not the agent for you. I'm sorry. I'm telling you the truth. I can't get you this. So I wish you the best of luck. Blah, blah, blah. Whoa, 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 whoa. I've gotten up 4 times and I've gotten 4 listings from that. When I'm willing to walk away. Because they know I have the integrity to say, I'm not going to be able to do that.
Right.
Instead of just taking it.
And if they do list with someone else and it doesn't sell, they come back to you anyway.
I have that, had that happen too.
Yeah, 'cause-
I've been wrong too
yeah,
sometimes.
sometimes we.
You know, it is what it is, but
Yeah.
I don't want to waste time. I am not
Yeah,
in this
it's
business to
time.
waste any time whatsoever. My time's valuable, because each listing appointment you go on, I don't care what it is. It could be around the corner, it's still an hour and a half, 2 hours of your time, no matter what. And I will tell you, even with this person here, that talks and talks and talks and talks and talks, if I am there more than 30 minutes to 45 minutes, it's a lot. It's a whole lot. And that includes taking pictures. I do not sit at these houses for hours and hours and talk, because the longer I'm there, the less chance I'm going to be able to get it. I want to get in, I want to do it, I want to talk to them about what they told me, and I want to get out. Make sense?
Yes.
Rich, how do you handle this estimate when you're going in and we got your 225 and they're saying, you know, my estimate says 237, I'm cutting you slack now, and you want me to list it at 215?
I tell them I'm not a mathematician, because that's what Zillow uses to base their numbers on.
Yeah.
I say, if you want a mathematician, why don't you call the local college? That's it. It's an algebra equation.
That's what he said.
Yeah.
How do you answer when you say, I recommend this price, and they go with it, and then you come back and say, you know, we to do a price reduction, and they say to you, well, you told me this was the right number, and now you're telling me that it's wrong, and I have to change it again.
I never agreed that's the right number.
But
I
you're
never
recommending-
agreed that's the right
But
number.
you're recommending, for example, 225.
I don't recommend it.
He
They
lets
tell me.
them choose.
So if I tell you 335 as the homeowner, and you say, well, the right number will be 225.
I didn't agree with him. I said, okay, 335.
No. If me as a seller,
Mhm.
owner of the property, I say, you know, number in my head is 235, right? And you tell them, and you as the listing agent say, well, the right number for to sell this property is $225,000. So that's the number you as an agent putting out, and then you're coming back, I'm coming back 30 days later saying, you know, you have to do a price reduction because of the weeks showing, et cetera, et cetera. How do you?
So wait a minute, so okay, so you're saying that
You as the listing agent, the number you threw out, I said, listing
the
agent.
number you threw out as a seller
It was 235, but you as the listing agent,
took it at 235.
no,
is that
no,
what you're saying?
you say, no, the right number is 225.
Okay, gotcha.
So $10,000 less. And then 30 days later, you're coming back saying, we need to do a price reduction for X or Y reason. How do you?
There's 1 of 3 things that's gonna happen. We hit the nail on the head. We get a lot of people through the door, we get no people through the door. One of those 3 things is going to happen. There's no guarantees that I'm gonna sell your house. I can't say, I will never promise I'm gonna sell anybody's house, ever. That's why I say that. One of these 3 things is gonna happen. That's it. I can't predict the market, you can't predict the market, they can't predict the market, nobody can. Nobody's gonna predict, you know, somebody walking in and go, this is my house of my dreams. had to have it all my life.
Right.
And will to pay. You know what I mean? You don't know that. And that's why you set up the expectation. It's called seller expectation. That's what it is, seller expectation script. This is what to expect. One of these things will happen. So I'm not wrong.